Hi, I'm Esther Perez, and I'm so excited to show you all about this day trip I took. It was to Toledo, which is a little bit outside of Madrid. I would say in total we spent maybe 45 minutes or less in the car ride there. And the whole time we had a tour guide. We met with this tour guide, and as soon as we hopped on the bus, the tour guide was able to keep us updated on what we were about to do for the day. The tour guide also was able to give us a bit of history when we were riding through the town, and it was a really neat time. The tour guide that I had was Eduardo, and then the driver was Pedro, and then um, here you'll be able to see that we were kind of going through these like hills and cliffs. Toledo is very well preserved. It is super well preserved. Very old town, very medieval, very gothic. It's influenced by so many different things. They do call it the city of three religions because of the three different religions that settled there and all kind of coexisted together peacefully. The tour guide was completely knowledgeable. The location was beautiful. We stopped along the way a couple times. So I would say it's not an accessible tour, and I think in Airbnb it's not listed as an accessible tour because there is quite a bit of, hopping off the tour bus, coming back on the tour bus. There are a lot of like, stairs and I would say escalators as well. Here you see we this was one of our stops, and it was really great to see it from this side and not exactly inside of the city yet or the town. This place was so well preserved. I couldn't believe it. And there were so many different tour buses as well. So in our group we had about maybe like 20, 30 people, and that was our bus. It was a pretty big size. Air conditioning was fine, heat was fine. I thought it was a really good ride there and back, and it was super comfortable. We rode right in front, maybe the second seat back, and it was really spacious. I would honestly do this trip again. It went so well. I couldn't believe how well it was. Here we are walking through the city. So on top of getting the ride there and then getting the historical knowledge on the way there and then stopping in certain places outside of the city, we also took a tour inside of the city. And don't worry about looking like a tourist, there are tour groups everywhere. And the tour guide let us know that this city really is not inhabited by locals because of how old it is. They only had one McDonald's there, if that tells you how old it is. I didn't see a Target anywhere near there. Just very old, but kept up with, and it's more so for the tours or for the tourists to go and view it. Here you'll see we got to look at a couple different cathedrals. The landscaping of it all was just really beautiful. I was in awe. I think the whole time I was in Spain in general, it just looks so different from what we see in the States. The United States is not as old as a lot of those areas in Europe are. So you really are, I feel like, in a culture shock when you go over there. Here you'll see just really preserved areas. They have the roads of stone. There were so many sword spots, and I was able to learn that I believe they got their swords from Game of Thrones here in this city. Toledo is known for its swords. So there's a fun fact for you. If you don't ever get to go visit, you can just know that. You can just know that now. The tour guide, he was so knowledgeable. I gave him 5 stars on Airbnb because I just really couldn't believe it just went so much above what I was expecting. After the walking tour, we got to walk on our own, and don't worry, the town is so small. At first I was like, "Oh my gosh, you're going to send us off by ourselves. I'm going to get lost." But no, it is so small. and the tour guide gives you a checkpoint so you know exactly where to go. I had perfect cell service, so if I did get lost, I'd be able to find my way back. Here we ate at a restaurant called La Malquerida, and it was a super cute spot. There was a couple different dining options that we looked at before coming here, and I think this one looked the best based on what we saw. If you go on this tour, you'll have maybe like an hour to yourself, and in the hour, I do recommend getting food because if you don't, it'll make for a long day. The trip in total, I think, was about 8 hours, so you really want to make sure you get a good meal in. So here I had the baked lasagna and it was absolutely incredible. We ordered the same thing. My partner, he hates when we do that because he likes to like try the different foods, but it just looked so good. We just couldn't help ourselves. In total, we spent about 31 euros. I think for a dinner for two, that's pretty cheap. And compared to the US, I think when we go out, we're going to spend $40 or more every time. So I'm really happy overall with how that restaurant went. If you go on this tour, definitely check that spot out. The tour guide did give us checkpoints of like when we needed to be back and where. So once we were all done eating, we got to walk around a little bit more and then head to the checkpoint. You really don't want to miss the tour guide's instructions. You want to be on time. If you are late by any means, that could push the rest of the tour back and then maybe not get to experience as much as, was planned. So after we visited Toledo, which is one of the world's oldest cities, which is super neat, we got to visit a 200-year-old local wine family-run winery in the Toledo region. So just a little bit outside of Toledo. I think the drive might have taken us 20 minutes or less from the actual city of Toledo. So we hopped back on that bus. And then the tour guide was once again telling us things along the way, letting us know what was about to come. They did an overall really great job, the tour guide and then also the driver. It was really good. There was quite a bit of old roads where it was super bumpy, and the tour guide was, quick to tell us about that and why they preserved it that way and kept it like that instead of just making pavement and almost, I don't even know if gentrifying is the right word, but I guess almost gentrifying the area by, putting in the newer roads. They preserved it so well. So here you'll see the vineyards. It was miles and miles of vineyards, and I've never seen them up close and personal like this. So I was in awe. When I think of vineyards, I think of The Parent Trap and how the dad owned a vineyard. So I just felt like it unlocked a core memory for me. Here's the outside of the winery. It was really sweet to see it. I think what I liked so much about this trip, aside from like the historical knowledge and how neat the tour guides were, was the people. We were able to really have good conversations with other tourists that were there on this tour with us, and they did a really great job of kind of connecting us all and putting us all together. So here we meet Isabel, and Isabel is I want to say, owner of this winery. She was really knowledgeable, and it was really sweet to walk through the whole process of creating wine. I think I had somewhat of an idea in my head, but being able to be there in person, see it up close, was different than just hearing about it. Isabel was able to run us through the history of wine, the history of her family having the winery as well, and overall the history of the wine business, which I thought was intriguing. I had never really thought about the wine business, and then she started really saying some things that I thought, okay, like I can totally see how that would affect the wine business in Spain. The entire area was just beautiful. I can't get enough of that. I would go back tomorrow if I could. So after we went through looking at the winery and how it's created and the history, we were able to go into this room, which was in the same area. We just walked over to it, and Isabel was able to pour us up some wine. Originally, when I booked on Airbnb, they said that it was going to be three wines, some tapas, which are the small plates there, However, I will say we ended up getting way more than 3 glasses of wine. At the end, she went around and said if anyone wants more, let her know. And we just emptied out the bottles that were there. I think in total, I drank like maybe 4 or 5 glasses of wine. The wine was super tasty. Unfortunately, you cannot just order it from them here to the US. You have to find it in the stores. And I believe it's really not in many stores here in the US. I believe she might have said that you can only get it in maybe New York. The scenery was absolutely beautiful. I just had such a great time. I cannot say that enough. If you were thinking of booking this experience, just do it because it will be such a blast. Thanks for watching.